Hi everyone, good morning and welcome back to the fourth technical session of Ambassadors of Nature program. And I'm Aditi and today we have with us Dr. Shomita Mukherjee. Today's program will begin with you all sharing your experiences with your last week's field assignment, followed by a technical session on mammals by Dr. Shomita Mukherjee, and then Dr. Pramod will take over the field assignment session. Before we begin the session, I would like to briefly introduce Dr. Shomita to all of you. Dr. Shomita Mukherjee did her master's in wildlife sciences, master's and PhD in wildlife sciences from the Wildlife Institute of India, Dehradun. With a career spanning over 30 years, she has covered extensive laboratory and field-based research, predominantly in carnivore ecology and molecular ecology across several biogeographic regions of our country. She specializes in carnivore ecology with a special focus on family Felidae, particularly small cats, molecular ecology, and conservation genetics. With this brief introduction, I would first like to request our program coordinator, Dr. Pramod, to formally begin the session. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Aditi. So, once again, good morning to all.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Okay, we have received your all the assignments, and as in the previous weeks, this time also all of you have done excellent. I congratulate you all. Most importantly, some of you who have not seen something after searching, you have very truthfully said, I have not seen. That is what we are expecting also. Because in science, truthfulness is very important. Your observation is very important. And what is your observation is what you have been asked to present, and you have done it excellently. And now we wanted to, as in the previous weeks, listen from you one point, only one line. What was most exciting? What was a thing in the last 1 week? Each one of you, one point you have to tell, just one, your simple response. How was it? One point. After that, today we have our today's theme speaker. I will hand over to her. First, Aditi, we can start talk for each name.
Yeah, so we'll start with Vivan Singh, who's from New Delhi. Vivan, please share your experience. Vivan, are you there?
He's muted. Vivan is muted.
Vivan.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. So I was roaming around a garden and I suddenly found a cocoon. So I first thought that it was a leaf, but then I saw a web-like structure holding it to the branch of the mango plant. So then I asked my mother and she confirmed that it was a cocoon. So with this experience, I learned that we can see lots of things which we normally don't see.
Okay, thank you. Thanks so much, Vivan. And next will be Saida Asba Fatima from Chhattisgarh. Saida?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Butterflies are very beautiful creatures. Different butterflies come in different time and different area. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Saida. Next we have Ritvik Bala from Tamil Nadu.
Good morning, everybody. I actually loved this beautiful assignment given by the SACON scientists. How beautiful and peaceful these butterflies are, but I won't accept that fact. The common cerulean, I actually observed a very peculiar activity of it. Once in a flower, the common crow tried to come and sit in that, but those two ceruleans didn't leave it to sit in there. They just drove it away from there. Always, they didn't leave other butterflies to be peaceful at all.
Nice observation, Ritvik. Thanks. Next we move on to Debadrita Roy from West Bengal. Devadrita is here. Yeah, she's there.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning,
Good
Devadrita.
morning, good morning, everybody. From my childhood, I performed many dances and songs. I love to draw many types of butterflies. I never knew that they have different types of names. Before that, I noticed that they sit on the flowering plants, and in this assignment I noticed that they sit on different types of leaves like coconut plants, custard custard apple plants, bushes, grounds, and etc. And many among them some restless butterflies like chaitak, common grass yellow, etc. And even they dislike my presences from 7 to 8 feet distance to take some photographs of them. And some calm butterflies like talwashi and neon, etc. Among almost all butterflies are fly rapidly during afternoon. I also noticed that in early morning they sit on the leaves and rest on some and take rest. Through this assignment, I learned more about the butterflies, and I enjoy the assignment a lot. Thank you all.
Thank you, Devadrita. We always love you sharing your common Bengali names of animals. So that's really fun. So
Thank you, ma'am.
next, yeah, thank you. Next, we'll move on to, yes, sir.
Devadita, your assignment, the way you have presented the data information, your observations were excellent this time. Okay, special congratulations to you. You are a whole.
Congratulations, Devadrita.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so, yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so we'll just move on to Adrija Bhattacharjee from West Bengal.
Good morning, everyone. I loved this assignment and I noticed two peculiar things. One was that the black Mormons, they always like to fly in pairs. Like whenever I saw them, they were always flying in pairs and like to be close with each other. And the second thing which I noticed was that the dark evening brown, I don't know if it is a butterfly or a moth, but according to me, it's a butterfly as far I know. And they don't like to fly outside. And during the evening, they like to come and sit inside the house and they won't budge from the place. Even if I stand very close to them, they will sit in that place only and they will not move. So this was a really peculiar observation for me because the rest of the butterflies, they were always flying away when I was coming close to them, and it was very difficult for me to photograph them. So in this assignment, I learned a lot, and I hope to learn a lot in the upcoming assignments as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adrija. Next, we'll have Navya Ahuja from Delhi.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, sir. It was a very wonderful week observing the butterflies. The most wonderful thing that occurred when I was observing the butterflies that on a marigold flower, I thought there was only one, the dingy swift butterfly. But as I went a little closer, I observed there were actually two of them and they were sitting very close. And one more thing that I observed that the common grass yellow butterfly, even as I tried to go a little bit closer to them, they used to fly away every time this happened. So it was very difficult to observe them and fly them. And the most wonderful thing that I would say was that the on the arc plant, many butterfly used to become, especially the plain tiger butterfly. And also on some other plants, I used to see some very little eggs on the backside of the leaf of the arc plant, and I was very happy to observe on that the second or the third day the eggs hatched and some green little small moths observed. So I'm very excited that I'll keep a watch on them and see them grow.
Navya, your presentation, your assignments previously were very good. Particularly your paintings are excellent. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, good.
Good, Navya. Thank you. Next, we have Vaishnavi Shri from Tamil Nadu.
So good morning, everybody. Last week assignments was wonderful, running behind the butterflies every now and then. So butterflies are one of the most beautiful creatures in the world, but it is quite difficult for me to get notice it quite clearly. And I didn't observe so many butterflies because I guess it was cloudy in my area, so the butterflies weren't out till afternoon. And I actually went searching for the butterflies throughout my neighborhood, but I didn't find any. But once I was just whiling away the time in balcony when I encountered a common mormon laying egg on the curry leaf plant. So I'm actually keeping a notice on the egg, and that's all. It was quite interesting to notice the butterflies. Thank you.
Vaishnavi, you certain of some of your observations were the way you have presented also was very good. Particularly the time of activities of the butterflies, the way which whatever you are observed, and egg laying of in the curry leaf, egg laying of common Mormon butterflies in the curry leaf. That is also it's a real thing. The way which you have presented, it's actually we could understand. You have seen the real thing because your presentation was good, and also the plant, the insect visiting the plants, because that was all that observations were very good, and the way you presented was excellent. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations to you, everybody. It's a very nice one. Nice effort you have taken this week. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Vaishnavi. Continue to keep an eye on those eggs. You'll have beautiful observations. So next, we'll move on to Pranavi Saravanan from Tamil Nadu.
Hi, good morning all. I love to watch butterflies. They are the peaceful and friendly creatures, but they made me to wait for a long to take pictures. I ran for a long time. Then only the butterfly stopped flying and was sitting in a plant. I felt like playing with the butterfly. I enjoyed playing with them. I also saw different moth that is oleander hawk moth, and I really enjoyed taking pictures of butterfly. But I saw only less butterflies this time because it is raining season, and in my neighborhood they were building many houses. So because of the noise, I saw only less butterflies. Thank you.
Oh, no problem, Pranavi. And but one small mistake, Pranavi, Pranavi Sharvan as well as Pranavi Kulathungan, both of you have recorded monarch butterfly. The monarch you must have seen definitely a striped tiger, which actually the last class Arun sir has told you. He has shown the monarch as well as the striped tiger. Striped tiger is an Indian butterfly. What you have seen is a striped tiger, but in your assignment you have recorded it as monarch butterfly. This is for your information. That name of that butterfly is striped tiger, not monarch. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Pranavi. Next is Tarun Moizuddin from Mumbai, Maharashtra.
Good morning. My biggest observation was the disparity between the amount of butterflies in summer and now. In summer, I could see butterflies almost everywhere, but now in winter, I could only see a few in our area. Thank you.
That's true. Excellent.
Thanks. Thanks, Tarun. Next is Ishani Vivek from Tamil Nadu.
Ma'am, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. So,
Ishani, you are muted. Yeah.
Okay. So, one minute, ma'am. Actually, previous week assignment was very awesome. was very interesting to watch butterflies. The really interesting thing I watched is the size of the proboscis of every butterfly is different. So that depends on the flowers that the butterfly goes and nectars. For example, the skippers family butterflies have shorter proboscis than the swallowtails butterflies. So they don't suck nectars from very long nectar tubes. So this was very awesome to watch them. And also about the life cycles, I watched two types of caterpillars in two plants, and also I watched about blue family butterfly. I can't identify that caterpillar properly, so I didn't mention in that. That was so small, and thank you for the assignment. Eagerly waiting for next assignment.
Okay, good.
Thanks, Ishani. Next, we have Pragadishwaran from Tamil Nadu again. Pragadishwaran, are you there? I think he is the one missing, right? Yeah. So we'll move on to Arnav Deshmukh from Maharashtra again.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. This week's assignment was very interesting, but the most wonderful thing I observed about the butterflies was that they are not mostly still. They are very fast, and it was very difficult to me to observe it. I also found that a common rose butterfly was sitting on a lantana flower for almost 9 to 10 minutes. It was very nice. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Thanks, Arnav. And the last one, Parthiban from Tamil Nadu. Is he there with us? Parthiban, can you hear us? He's here, right, sir?
Yes, ma'am, he is here.
Parthiban.
Maybe he's muted. You can ask him to unmute himself.
I have asked him to unmute.
Parthiban. He's there.
Parthiban, please unmute. Okay, so then we can just move on, right? Yeah.
We can
Dr. Pramod sir.
Yes,
Dr. Pramod
Devadrita.
sir. Sir, I have a question.
Tell me.
Does weather condition hampers on butterflies' life cycle?
Definitely, because in the very weather condition, when there is no wetness, when it many time when the dry season, many some cases butterflies egg stage or sometime in the its pupal stage, they will go for a diapause, and diapause it will not. Then for some time it will remain for many months. Sometimes in a diapause it will not active. Then when the rain comes, suddenly it will get activated and come out as a flower. That's why suddenly after a rain, so suddenly the butterflies the next day and it will start coming. This always happen. Many insect communities, butterflies also. Okay. So
Okay, thank you.
So two people are still left. Tarun Siddharth from Tamil Nadu. Please share your experience.
Good morning, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ma'am,
Good
can
morning.
you hear?
Yeah.
I loved the last week assignment because I spent a lot of time observing the butterflies. I noticed that the striped tiger came around for fetching the nectar and again went to the Calotropis plant to rest. and it again came after 10 minutes. I don't know why that happened. So, and I saw the common, oh, I forgot that name.
It's okay.
Common grass yellow. It
Okay.
came, it always flew with 2 or 3 of these butterflies. It flew like in a circle or something, and it fetched the nectar and again flew with them to the Calotropis plant. And I observed a lot of birds and butterflies sitting on the Calotropis plant.
Okay, good.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next, thanks, Tarun. Next is Krishna Kishore.
And also Pranavi Kulothungan has not come now.
Pranavi Kulothungan.
I cannot call her.
Yes, ma'am, I did not say.
So yeah, I think soon after Pranavi Sarvanan, I move on to next. After Pranavi Kulothungan because of the same names. So, anyways, Krishna Kishore and Pranavi Kulothungan. So, Krishna Kishore.
The last week assignments was really superb because I observed that there are not only human world, animal world, but also insect world. Unlike the human world and birds world, insect world is quite with harmony and cooperation, compassion. As a plant in my house, I saw one ant helping one another ant, and whenever they would walk on the leaves, they would go in perfect coordination. They would not crash against each other, and they would move as they are friends to each other and work in harmony for their entire development. And about the butterflies, they are, some butterflies are very still. How much ever I get closer to take their pictures, they won't move, and other butterflies will not wait at all. So it was totally a superb experience for me than trees and birds. Thank you.
Krishna Kishore, you have not written all whatever you are telling this in your assignment sheets. What happened?
Sir, I didn't write there so much because in my last last presentation will be, no sir, after 7 weeks. In that I will show, sir.
No. That is not the right. See, every week, this week you have given an assignment to write your this week's observation. That you should present what is your observation of this week. Okay, this is not, and you are this time you are excellently you are presented all these very important points, and but you are, it is your assignment sheet do not reflect that. Okay, all time I am seeing your assignment sheets do not reflect what you are talking. Because you are seeing so many things, you are taking effort, but your assignment sheet you are not filling the information with. So
don't keep everything for the end.
So you may not get enough time.
Yeah, so you should always fill in your assignment sheets properly, right?
Sir, but I wrote about the living in harmony.
That and all is said. That is your philosophy, not the philosophy. What I am telling is your observation on ants, your observation on butterfly. That is what you are asked to write, which you have not written. Okay.
I'll take care, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Krishna Kishore. Next, we have Pranavi Kulothungan. Yeah.
Good morning to everyone. Before week's this assignment was very fun and useful. I saw a common evening brown butterfly was sucking the extract from cashew fruits, and that was the first time I saw a butterfly sucking extract from cashew fruits. And the butterflies are frequently flying for another flower to another flower, very frequently. Thank you, ma'am.
Pranavi, you are for one mistake which I already told you about that monarch butterfly, which is not monarch stripe. Second thing, your observation on more butterfly visiting Tumbai flower. Tumbai flowers are small white flowers, and which that is a very right observation. They are close to the grass, and that you know why this it's so small butterfly, but it has a considerably good amount of nectar, and that butterfly knows that small flower, though its flower is very small, it has a lot of nectar. So that is why butterflies are visiting more that small flower. So it is a very good observation, right observation. Congratulations to you. Okay.
Thanks, Pranavi. Can we have Parthiban? Parthiban, can you hear us? Parthiban is inactive, I think. Navya, you have raised your hand. Would you like to ask any question?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I wanted to ask why the arc plant is so favorite of the butterflies. Because many of the butterflies that I discovered were on the arc plant.
I saw that but it is unexpected. Is it oak tree or what? What are you talking about? What plant you are talking about? Is it oak tree or oak plant means what? What is the tree? You have. Is it oak plant means some other plant you are talking? It's not oak is a tree. Is it a tree you are talking about or another plant?
No, sir, it was a plant of medium height and the leaves were kind of a bit long.
No, do one thing. Do one thing. Take a photograph of the tree, photograph and send to me. I'll tell you why. Because the plant which you are identified is not oak. Sure, because oak is a tree which I think that what you are something else. You send it. There are some plants which generally attract many butterflies. Let me see what is that for and then get back to you. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So I have a question.
Okay.
From the butterflies, when I touched one butterfly, something like the butterfly's color was in my hand, like some powder. It's not coming out for summer or rain, but if I touched it, was coming.
Okay. This whatever the color which is coming to your hand are scales, very fine scales, not powders. Okay. Now, when you are in school, if you get a chance to get a microscope, now take a butterfly wing and keep under the microscope and carefully look through that. You will see just like the fish scales, this all the butterfly wings have scales, different colored scales, very loosely attached to the very transparent wing. The color of the wing is because the arrangement of the colorful scales. So when you touch the butterfly, the color which coming to your hand is the scales actually disconnected from the wings and it is coming. So that is why the butterflies and moths are the only insects with the scales. They are the insects with scales. These are scales. Okay. You do it when you get to school, when you get a microscope, take a butterfly wing and see how the arrangement of the scales are there. Very good.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir, just one doubt.
Okay, very quickly because we have to have today's session.
Yes, sir, just one doubt, sir. Sir, when just after the cyclonic rain here, sir, all the butterflies disappeared like magic, sir. Only a few caterpillars can be seen in that host plant. Where did all the butterflies go?
See, these are all may not be a right information. How do you say somebody would have said we don't know? See, first of all, butterflies just like, of course, any heavy wind butterflies fly during the wind time because huge wind time wherever it is, butterfly will take a rest or takes refuge behind some leaves in some plants and trees. They won't fly during the heavy wind. So it is not vanishing during high wind. Wherever it is, butterfly will not be seen flying around. That is one thing. But that is the thing which we will tell you later. Okay, all the best. Okay, Aditi, we can go for the next session.
Yes, sir. So next session will be on mammals, and we have Dr. Shomita, as I told you before. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thanks, Aditi, and thanks, Pramod. And a very good morning to all of you. And it was really interesting. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
ma'am. It was very nice to hear all of you describe your observations as well as, ask questions. So in today's session, okay, I will be asking you questions and you can also ask me questions, okay? So it will be very interactive. So I want a lot of energy in this class. So all of you unmute yourselves and say, are you awake, all of you? And are you
ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes,
good.
ma'am.
Okay, great. So we will start with mammals now. And I will just share my PPT? Can you see it?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So we will talk about mammals. Okay. So I'm going to keep asking you questions and you keep responding to me, and you can ask me questions also. Yeah. So now the first thing is, what is a mammal? I guess you would have studied something in school, right? About different groups, birds,
Yes.
mammals. So what is a mammal?
A mammal is a creature which has fur and which gives birth to live young, and it feeds its young with milk.
And
Very
does not
good.
lay an egg.
Anybody else? Anything else?
It
Except
breathes
platypus.
through
Ma'am,
lungs.
mammals
It
don't
has
lay
hair on
eggs.
its body.
Who doesn't have hair on his body?
Mammals have, ma'am, like,
They have hair.
insects,
They have fur.
birds do not have.
Birds have
Except
feathers.
platypus,
Yeah.
every mammal give birth directly.
Yeah. So, so Ritvik, is that your favorite animal behind you?
Yes.
What is it?
It's a red
You don't
panda.
answer. Let somebody else answer.
Red panda, ma'am.
Red panda?
Yeah, red panda. You know where it's found?
In the Himalayas.
Which Himalayas? The eastern Himalayas. Okay, it's found in the
Ma'am, I
eastern
saw
Himalayas.
it, the red panda.
Sorry?
I saw the red panda in the
You
zoo.
saw the red panda in the zoo?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, they're very beautiful. So, what do you think it is? What kind of an animal is it?
Mammal.
A mammal.
Oh, it's a mammal. Yeah. Anything further than that you know about it?
It is not a panda, actually.
Ma'am, it's a bear.
What would it?
Ma'am, is it a rodent?
Now you tell me, is it a rodent?
I think
What do you
yes.
think it is? Anybody? What do you think it
It
eats?
is herbivore.
You think it's a herbivore? Okay.
No, miss,
Let's
it's a
talk
carnivore.
about that a little later. Okay. We'll be talking about that. So what you said was absolutely right. Okay. Mammals have fur on their bodies. They give birth to young ones directly. They don't lay eggs. There are some mammals who lay eggs. That is the duckbill platypus. Okay. And but they are a different set of mammals. We won't talk about them today. We'll talk about generally, okay, the mammals that we see and what we have here, especially in India. So they give birth to young directly and they feed their young, okay, as well as they also are, what would you call them? Warm-blooded, cold-blooded?
Yeah, warm-blooded.
Warm-blooded.
Okay, so a better word for warm-blooded and cold-blooded is endotherm and ectotherm. Okay, endo means inside, therm means heat. So endotherm is what we refer to loosely as warm-blooded. Okay, which means you actually generate your own heat from within. Okay, so that is, and you maintain a temperature that is constant. Yeah, you know what your body temperature should be?
98.2 Fahrenheit, degree Fahrenheit.
Okay. Okay, so similarly, all these mammals will be maintaining a constant body temperature, not necessarily the same as ours. They will have their own, adaptations. We'll talk about adaptations, and they will maintain a body temperature that their group or their species is adapted to. So some mammals will have a higher body temperature than us, okay, because their metabolism, okay, we'll talk about metabolism. What is metabolism? Is higher than ours. And so they need to maintain a higher body temperature. And so now in the second slide, you see this group. What do you think these animals are? Does anybody know?
Ma'am, ma'am, it's a rodent, ma'am.
Yeah, it's a rodent. It's called the marmot.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I know
Yeah,
that.
and they live in the Himalayas. Now, these guys will have very high body temperatures. Okay. And when they have high body temperatures, they are also very active. Because, that's how they are. Higher metabolism makes them more active. Yeah. And they need to be more active. And then the last one, okay, is a
Mountain goat.
Nilgiri tar.
It's a sangar.
It's not a
Nilgiri
sangar.
tar.
It's a
Goat.
Ma'am, Nilgiri
it's a
tar.
tar. It's a
Nilgiri
tar.
tar.
Nilgiri tar.
Yeah, maybe even actually even I don't know what it is, but it's an ungulate. Yeah, so it is a tar. And so let's move on. So you said the red panda, somebody said was a herbivore. Okay, but it belongs to a group called carnivores, carnivora, the order. Okay, it's an order called carnivora. So there are mammals, which is you know, the mammalian, like you call the group of mammals. Okay, and then you break it up into, you have carnivora, you have primates, you have rodents, you have ungulates. Okay, so you have many different groups, and then you can further subgroup. You can again divide it into groups and families. Okay, like Felidae within the carnivora. Okay, so we won't go into those details. You can find it in any book. So the red panda is actually a carnivore. Okay, because it belongs to the order Carnivora. Okay, but you can actually divide them into a different lot, into a different set according to what they eat. They may not necessarily belong to, you know, there are many, like for instance, you have a giant panda, which actually is a carnivore, okay, through taxonomy or through relations with its other nearby, whatever, like, you know, it will be a carnivore, but what it eats will be mainly plants. Okay, so from its food habits, it is a herbivore. Okay, but otherwise it belongs to the order Carnivora because that's where it has descended from. Okay, so we'll talk about that in a little while. So you tell me, is this correct?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Photoshop.
All of you agree it is not correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Why is it not correct? What's wrong
Because
with
it has human teeth.
The lips and teeth are different.
It has human teeth. Okay. So what should it have? What kind of teeth should it have?
It should have canines.
It should have
canines. Okay. Is this correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
apart from canines, what do you see? Can you see? What can you say about these teeth?
They are modified to tear the
Ma'am, the
flesh.
shape of the teeth is not correct.
In the previous one, right? So
Yes,
what
ma'am.
is it? What is the difference? You tell me what the difference is between
The
these
canine
teeth.
teeth are very big.
Okay, and
No canine.
they tear the flesh, right? Somebody said they tear the flesh.
They are
What do they
adapted
tear
to
the
the
flesh with?
Their canine.
Their canine is not correct.
What do they tear their flesh with canines?
Yes, ma'am, the canines.
Okay.
Nails, ma'am.
Okay.
And they are more pointed.
They are more pointed. Okay. So why are teeth important?
For tearing flesh and eating.
Okay.
They're adapted.
Tear the
Right.
flesh and chew.
So to tear the flesh is only for carnivores, right? The ones that eat meat, who kill
Yes,
and eat
ma'am.
meat, right?
Yes,
But
ma'am.
for herbivores, they won't need it. So obviously they'll have different teeth. So you know what is interesting? From the kind of teeth you have, you can actually tell what it is that you're going to be eating. Yeah. So a cat
Yes,
has
ma'am.
teeth like this because it's a hunter. It's a carnivore. Okay, so that's when we talk, you know, when we say that a panda or a red panda is actually a carnivore, but it eats, you know, plant material. How do you know? Because when you look at the set of teeth, they will be like that of a carnivore. They won't have teeth like a cow. Okay, or they won't have teeth like us. So you know that, you know, what you call evolutionary relationships. Okay, it's like how we are very close to monkeys, more closer to monkeys than we are to the cats and dogs, you know, because we've descended from an ancestor that was a monkey. Now, similarly, the panda, the red panda and the giant panda have descended from an ancestor that was a carnivore, just like the cats and the dogs. But later on, they started eating mostly other stuff, not just meat. Yeah. So we will now look at some. What do here you have? You have the habits. Okay. Now we talked about groups. You have carnivores, you have herbivores. Okay, that are generally, when you say carnivore, you say that it belongs to the group Carnivora. Okay, and you can make out from the set of teeth and other adaptations that you have. Whereas you can be a carnivore and you can actually eat plants. That means your habit, your behavior is herbivory. Okay, so there is a slight difference. And then there is carnivory. And there's omnivory. Now, what is omnivory? Can anybody tell?
And they eat both.
And they eat plants and meat.
As well as
exactly. They can eat everything. It's like us, you know, we are omnivores. We eat everything. Right?
Ma'am, do pandas have large appendix?
Appendix. I don't know such
Vermiform
details.
appendix, ma'am.
I don't know such details about pandas, you know, whether they have a large appendix. Why would they have a large appendix?
Ma'am, because you said they will eat plants, and for digesting that cellulose, we need large appendix, which works. But for us humans, it is not working.
Yeah, so if a panda has descended from a carnivore, okay, a carnivore doesn't need a large appendix, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So if it has descended from a carnivore, okay, it will not have a large appendix to begin with. You understand? It's like we do not have wings, true wings or feathers, because we've descended from a group that started growing fur and gave up feathers. Did you get it? So they will not have a large appendix. That is the reason why when they are carnivores and they have moved to eating plants, okay, they will not completely eat plants. They will also once in a while eat other things like insects. So even the giant panda, also most of the time, even though it's eating bamboo, it will also eat insects. It will also eat other small things because they are not totally adapted to eating plants the way, say, a cow is. Okay? So, whose skull is this, you think?
Saber-tooth tiger.
What family does a tiger belong to?
Cat family.
Cat.
Cat, felidae.
So remember we saw the teeth on the cat?
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
This can also be a cat skull that has been really zoomed in.
Ma'am, it's a saber-tooth
Because there's no
tiger.
scale over here, so you don't know how big it is. It can be a cat skull which has been zoomed. And it looks so big that it looks like a tiger skull. So basically, if you look at the teeth, okay, you said they have canines, which are the big ones. And then you have these teeth behind. Can you see it?
Yes, ma'am.
They are like our molars. You know what our molars are, right?
Yes,
Wisdom
ma'am.
teeth that you get when you will get it when you're 18 or 20. Some people never get them. So when you look at this, you look at a cat, you know, or a carnivore skull, any carnivore skull, a dog. You know, if you have pets at home, if they don't bite you, okay, you can open their mouth and you can check their teeth. Yeah, don't try it too much. If they don't like it, leave it. Otherwise, they'll really clamp their teeth onto your fingers. So you see these teeth behind, they are called carnassials. What are they? Carnassials. Okay. So essentially what these teeth do, the canines are like daggers which stab. Okay, the daggers stab, that is, they are used to kill the prey. And the carnassials are like scissors. You see how well they fit in? You see the upper and lower jaw? Okay, they fit in very beautifully. This thing will come here. This point will come in the middle, and these will be the shearing surfaces. So they cut the flesh. So if you watch a dog or especially a cat eating, okay, you will see that they tilt their head and they will chew from the side. Just observe that, okay? Next time, whoever has a cat, or if you can watch a cat eating, or if you can watch a dog eating, okay, you'll see they'll first, you know, they gulp. They don't grind their food the way we do. They don't chew their food the way we do because they don't have grinding surfaces. They will just stab, kill, cut, swallow. Okay? And there's another thing that's interesting in carnivores. You see, how many different ways can you move your jaws? Can all of you move your jaws?
3 ways.
Move your jaw, all of you, and tell me which ways you can move your jaw. Which direction can you move it?
Man, 3 ways.
Down,
down.
left, right, ma'am.
Yeah, up, down,
Man, front and
right.
back also you can.
Okay, and you can rotate your jaw. Whereas in carnivores, they cannot do that. Okay, they can only move their jaws up and down like this. Okay, and the reason being that gives them a lot of power in the canines and in cutting. You know, if your scissor, you see a scissor, a good scissor, if it moves sideways like this, it will not cut. It's very frustrating. If you have if you have a scissor with a slightly loose screw in the middle, it will not cut. It will go like this. You need this action, right? You need exactly this action. And that's what a carnivore jaw does. The way it hinges onto the skull, okay, it's very beautiful. If you get hold of a jaw, you can just see the way it hinges into a skull. There is a lower jaw which has a process like this, and the upper jaw has a socket, and it just goes in like this. And then it will only move in this way. So that is very important for a carnivore. If the jaw starts moving sideways, they will not be able to cut the flesh. Okay.
Ma'am, are the teeth like a puzzle because they fit with each other?
Yeah, they fit very beautifully with each other, just like a scissor.
Okay.
And the canines are just like daggers. Okay,
Okay,
like a knife. Whose teeth are these, you think?
Shark.
Cows? Is a cow?
It's an ungulate, you're right. Okay, shark teeth are very different. Shark teeth, no. Are shark mammals?
No, ma'am, they are fish.
No, ma'am, they are fish.
Yeah. So their teeth are very different. They have only one type, which are like hooks, and they're flat and they're just curved backward. Okay, that's very different. Shark teeth.
They even have ridges on it.
This is an ungulate, so it's a herbivore. Okay. Now you will say a herbivore also has a sharp, you know, it has kind of points on the side. Why would that be? Why do you think? What are the herbivores?
Chewing through the fibers.
Yeah, it eats grass and it eats, you know, leaves. It depends on which. There are some herbivores that only eat leaves, and there are some that eat grass, and there are some that also eat fruits. So accordingly, they will have different kinds of teeth. Okay. So this one probably it eats grass, okay, or leaves, and it has a surface that will really grind and cut, okay, and then it will take it in. So now if you notice, do you think this one has more teeth or the previous one has more teeth?
This has more.
This one has more teeth.
It has many more teeth, right? So carnivores, especially cats, okay. So carnivores, because all they need mostly is to cut, is to stab and to cut and swallow, the number of teeth are very reduced compared to a herbivore. Now, even within a carnivore, okay, if you look at cats, they are pure meat eaters. You should never give your cat vegetarian diet. It will not survive. Okay, a dog within the carnivore, it is more of an omnivore. It can eat it can't eat plant material, but it can eat the food that you eat. It can eat bread, it can eat rice, it can drink milk. Okay, and so they have slightly more teeth than the cats. The cats just live on meat. Okay, so they have a very different set. They have a very reduced set of teeth. All they have are daggers and they have scissors. Yeah, whereas herbivores, You see, their teeth are more similar. All the teeth are more similar and they use it for grinding. Okay. Now, what do you think this is?
It's a monkey.
Monkey, ma'am.
It's a monkey. Look carefully. It doesn't have teeth on top. Poor thing.
Monkey.
Cow, ma'am.
Who said that?
Tharu said that.
What is it? Say it again.
Ma'am, it's a cow because I think I've studied it somewhere. It doesn't have proper teeth.
Ah,
Yes,
very
ma'am.
good. Very good. This is a cow. Okay. What it has on top, next time you see a cow, if anybody has a cow at home, or if anybody has a friendly cow, okay, try to look into its mouth. They don't have teeth on the upper jaw. In the front, what they have is a big pad, a very hard pad. Okay, and then they have teeth below. So they use that pad also to cut. It's like a, a cutting board. So they use the lower teeth and then they have the upper. So you watch it eating. It'll rotate, it'll move its jaws from side to side. Okay, notice these things. And now whose teeth are these? Look at the kind of variety you have over here.
Ma'am, is it primates?
No. Yes. Aren't they pretty?
No, ma'am.
They're
No,
not
ma'am.
pretty? You don't think they're pretty? I think they're very pretty. Look at the different kind of shapes they have.
No, ma'am. Actually, they're a little dirty. That's why.
They're dirty. You know why? Because they came out of the poop of a cat.
Because
Oh.
They
Mouse
came out of the poop of a cat. Now
Why,
what
ma'am?
could it be?
mouse teeth.
Is this a rodent?
Rodent.
Rodent. Very good. So the top three are rodents. And the bottom two are also rodents. You know the top, this one, can you see the cursor?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
Yes,
these
ma'am.
two are of the same rodent. One is the upper jaw, one is the lower jaw. Okay, and it's some kind of a rat. This one is also a rodent, but it is a rodent called a vole, which lives in the higher altitudes in very cold regions. Okay, and they have teeth like this. So when you look at the teeth that come out in a cat poop, you can actually tell what the cat has eaten. Okay.
Ma'am, is it a poop of a snow leopard?
No, this is the poop of a leopard cat, which is a very tiny cat. Now imagine a snow leopard, a big snow leopard, if it eats these tiny rodents, how many it will have to eat?
I think it's a clouded leopard.
A clouded leopard is also pretty big. This is of a leopard cat. A leopard cat is a very tiny cat. It's smaller than your house cat. It's smaller than the cat you have at home. Okay, and it has lots of very beautiful markings on its body. You can Google and look for leopard cat.
Yes,
Okay,
I've
it's not a
seen
leopard,
it.
it's a leopard cat.
Ma'am, I have seen it. They look like leopards, but they are really small in size.
Yeah, they're very beautiful.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so one way of looking at what they eat, okay, we'll talk a little bit about behavior a little later, but I'll tell you now, you don't see cats very easily. You will not see carnivores very easily. If you go into the forest, you will not see a red panda so easily.
Yes, ma'am. It's so difficult to see mammals.
Very difficult to see some mammals, especially carnivores. Why?
Because they camouflage very beautifully.
Why do they need to camouflage?
Because
Hunt,
Because
ma'am.
they have to
hide
hunt
over
to
there.
have prey.
They have to
And
hide.
catch and eat.
They
They
pray,
have to
they should not
Hide and
recognize.
hunt the prey.
Yeah, exactly. So they have to hide. You know, they're like detectives. They have to follow their prey. They have to hide. They have to know where to find them. And then they have to use either stealth or the larger carnivores. They actually run after their prey like dogs. You know, many canids, wild dogs, wolves, they chase and they hunt and they catch, right? Okay. So this was from a leopard cat. So yeah, sorry,
Ma'am.
tell me. Yeah.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yeah, ask.
Why does dogs and cats dump their poop under the soil?
So the dog doesn't cover its poop all the time. What the dog does is it just kicks the dust behind, right? In a way, it's marking. Why does a cat do it? That's a very good question. You know, it's a million rupee question. We still don't really know why they hide their poop. But what is likely is that the younger cats hide their poop just so that they, you know what, a poop is used for advertising also, that I was here.
Yes.
That's a way to communicate. Now, when you're very small and you're vulnerable, okay, that means when you're very small, you can have the larger cats from your same species, okay,
Yes,
or
ma'am.
from larger carnivores who can come and catch you. So you shouldn't advertise. You should not show others that you're around. Okay, so one way is to hide. Now the other, these are called hypotheses, okay, because we don't know what the truth is. We don't know what really it is used for. We only speculate. Okay, these are like what are known as hypotheses in science, and you can test them. You can go and design a study and study them, okay, to check whether it is this way or that. So one thing is that they may hide their poop because they don't want to advertise themselves. The other one is that they don't want to tell the prey that they've been here, right? So they will cover it wherever they want to hunt. We still don't know exactly why they do it. There may be several reasons why they do it. We still have to study that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
So now coming back to these teeth. Yeah. Anybody else have a question?
Yes, ma'am. I was telling that cats hide their poop, but the tigers don't. They actually urinate on the barks of trees to show that this is their territory. So they are very different from the tigers.
Yeah, because tigers are so big.
Yes, ma'am.
They don't have anybody else coming to hunt them.
Okay. Yeah.
That may be. That's what. These are just things you have to logically separate out and write it down and say, is it because of this or is it because of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, how do cats drink milk, ma'am?
How do they drink milk, meaning?
Ma'am, you told they're pure carnivores and they won't survive.
Yeah, so tell me, do other monkeys eat chocolate?
No.
So even we didn't start off eating chocolate. But we tasted it and we liked it. We made it. Right? So even if it's not good for us, we will still eat it. Right? We smoke cigarettes. They are not good for us, but we do it. So similarly, the milk, many cats know when they drink milk, they get diarrhea. They get stomach upset. It's just that they probably like the smell or the taste or the fat in it. You know, cats are not able to taste sugar because they're not supposed to be eating carbohydrates. They only eat protein and they eat fat. Okay, so all baby animals drink milk. Okay, and even humans, even as adults, we drink milk. We don't need it. Once you're weaned off from your mother, you don't need milk to survive. Okay, but we do it because we like it. Okay, but many humans also, if they drink milk later on in life, they can get stomach upsets because you don't produce an enzyme called lactase dehydrogenase, which actually
lactose intolerance.
Lactose intolerance is because of that, because you don't produce an enzyme that can break lactose.
Trypsin, ma'am, it is called.
Sorry?
It is called a trypsin, ma'am. It will be available in a human body only till age 14.
Yes, and then it'll slowly wear off. Okay, I don't know whether it's trypsin, okay, or whether it is lactase. Okay, it's certainly not lactase dehydrogenase because that we all have. Okay, we need it for our metabolism, but it is a certain enzyme that is missing in adult mammals, which doesn't permit us to really have milk as adults. Okay, so even cats have the same thing. They don't produce that enzyme, and so they cannot really digest it after they are weaned off their mothers. Yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
And okay.
But they will tell in TV advertisements after 30 age, bone density decreases, women have to drink Horlicks. It's pure advertisement, ma'am, not true.
Yeah, may not be true. You need calcium, definitely. Okay, you need calcium all your life, but there are other ways of getting calcium also. If you like milk, you can have it. That's not, I mean, you know, these are companies that are advertising. So, of course, they will tell you a lot of things. Yeah.
And one more doubt, ma'am. Now,
Yeah.
elephant is stronger than tiger, no, ma'am, but still scared of tiger.
Is it scared of tiger? Because tigers, you saw what tigers have on their paws. What do they have in their paws?
They have claws.
Very
sharp. Very big claws. They are like real daggers.
They're nasty.
They're not nasty. That's what they use for their survival for hunting. Okay, so I guess elephants, all herbivores in some way, are scared of carnivores. That is like kind of ingrained in them.
Yes,
but elephants are very rarely consumed as food by the tigers, right?
No, they are not
Very
consumed
rare
as food
hunt.
by tigers, but if a tiger and an elephant come face to face, they can also have a fight, and the elephant can also be injured. There have been cases where, you know, elephant and tigers have fought.
And ma'am, what about giraffes and tigers? Giraffes have very strong legs.
So do you think giraffes meet tigers ever?
No,
Where
ma'am.
do they meet?
No, ma'am. Actually not, sorry.
They meet lions.
They meet with
They
lions.
meet lions, but lions live in groups.
Groups in a pride.
Yeah, so we'll come to that. Okay, we'll come a little later. Now, apart from teeth, okay, we are looking at what are known as adaptations. Okay, that is what features you have that is really, you know, that nature has actually sculpted like a nice sculptor, okay, to make it as suitable as possible for your habits. So now we come to eyes. Now, what are the differences that you find in these eyes?
Ma'am, in the first picture, they are in the same, means they are in the front, but in the last picture, they are on the side, which
Very
means
good.
that deers have to look on both sides because they have to look for prey because of the
Yes.
predators. And but it's looking for the first picture, it's looking for prey. That's why it's looking forward and looking and it's focusing on the prey itself.
Yes, yes. Do you know which cat this is?
Ma'am, I think this is a leopard cat.
Leopard cat.
This is a rusty spotted cat. It is the smallest cat in the world. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Anyway, excellent. Your answer, whoever answered it, excellent. Okay. This
Thank
is
you, ma'am.
a huge difference where, you know, you have what is known as binocular vision.
Yes,
Primates have that.
Both
We have that.
images merge to give 3D vision to our eyes.
Yes, yes. Okay. So you can actually look at a prey in a very different way. You can see it fully. And you know why carnivores, especially cats, need it? Because they hunt by stealth. Okay, and they have to, when they jump or pounce on an animal, they have to judge distance. So you can't judge distance if your eyes are on both sides of your face. Right? So when you're driving, okay, anybody, whenever you go to a national park or any area where you're driving, you have to be very careful, especially when you come across it's like this deer. Because they have eyes on both sides, okay, especially if you're driving in the night, what happens is that when they're crossing a road, they can see the vehicle light on one side and they see the shadow on the other side. And because they see a shadow on the other side which is moving, they start coming immediately towards the vehicle. Because they think that shadow is something that is coming at them. So you have to be really careful when you're driving in the night.
Okay.
Ma'am, also cats
because
have
they
a
see
very
both
strong
sides. They see
nocturnal
movement.
vision.
Sorry?
Cats have a very strong nocturnal vision, right? They can see
Cats have very strong nocturnal vision. Why is that?
Ma'am, maybe because when they're irises detect the light, the pupils turn into very split things, and they can split the light very easily in the dark as well.
That is how you're telling me, you're giving me an answer to how is it that they see in the night. I'm asking you, why do they need to see well in the night?
Ma'am, because during the night, lots of animals wouldn't be like with herds. So if they go in the stealth, they could easily attack them.
What else do you think? Why do cats need to see in the night?
Ma'am, maybe because
Ma'am, they also have, I think they have rods in their retina which helps them to see better at night.
You're telling me how. You know, there is a difference between answering a how question and a why question.
Maybe because many of the small animals come out at the night. For example, rats, they come out
Very
and they
good,
hunt.
very good, very good. Okay, so why do they need eyes that can see in the dark? Is because their prey, that are rodents, also come out in the night. I'm talking about small cats. Now, how will you tell whether an animal is nocturnal or diurnal? One of the ways to do it is look at the size of the eyes as compared to the face. Okay, you look, even this rodent has very big eyes.
Yes, ma'am.
The cat,
Beautiful eyes also.
very beautiful eyes, no? The rodent has very beautiful eyes. And the cat also has very big eyes. It needs big eyes just so that those are the most prominent features because they hunt in the night. Now, the tiger will not have eyes as big as a house cat compared to its face, because the tiger also hunts during the day. Okay, yes, that's one of the ways to say, okay, whether an animal is nocturnal or diurnal. Yeah. Even if you look at, I don't know if you know this primate called the loris.
I know.
You know, na?
I like
Anybody
it.
else? If others don't know, please Google loris. Okay? Hello?
It has huge eyes.
It has massive eyes.
Yes, ma'am.
So just Google loris and you see LORIS loris and you will see how big those eyes are. And those primates, they're primates, they're monkeys. Okay, and they come out only in the night.
Yes.
And they eat insects. So their teeth, okay, will be like the middle one. This is a teeth of something that eats insects. This is a shrew. Yeah. Okay.
And actually, lorises are hunted for their eyes, no, for medicine or something.
Not for their eyes, but they're hunted because they have such big eyes, no? People think they are like, you know, like
for
black
Chinese
magic.
medicine, they have it.
Like black magic, or like, you know, they are used as like witches or whatever because they have big eyes. They look like E.T.
Yes.
Have you seen the movie E.T. Extraterrestrial?
Are there
That was a long time
superstitions?
ago.
Yes,
sorry. Yeah, somebody
Ma'am,
wants
they
to say.
believe they're superstition.
Yeah, they believe they're superstitious. Superstition is associated with it. And so people who are superstitious, they use them, okay, for some kind of black magic purposes, which is all nonsense. It's not true. But people have these kind of associations with things around them. So now, remember we were talking about somebody living in groups. Who was that who said something lives in groups and they hunt in groups? What was that?
Lions.
Lions hunt in groups.
Lions.
Okay. So
even dogs do that.
Dogs also
do
hunt
it
in
wonderfully.
Ma'am, but orcas do
Main
that as
wolves.
well.
Wolves also hunt in groups.
And
But
also
cats
orcas do that.
And dingoes and coyotes also.
Yeah, dingoes and coyotes are dogs. Okay, so they hunt in groups. They're social animals. Like monkeys are social animals. Like you can see this troop over here. Okay, and you will have noticed a lot of monkeys. They live in groups, right? And then you have like the giant panda who lives alone.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you have many cats who live alone. You have mongoose.
Yes,
there are
ma'am.
some mongoose who live in groups. There's some who live alone or in pairs. Okay.
Yes.
So there are different reasons why they live like that. The ones who live in groups, okay, they have strong reasons for living in groups. For instance, they can actually, you know, it's like a strategy for avoiding predation. That's why you find deer that live in herds. right? A lot of prey will live in groups, but prey that are nocturnal, like rodents, they may not live in groups. They may forage, or they may, look for their food individually. They won't go in. Have you seen a group of rodents? Like
No,
rats or
ma'am.
a group of
No,
rodents?
ma'am.
Go separately. They may live together in a colony.
Yes, ma'am.
But when they go to eat, they will go alone. Yeah. Whereas monkeys and all, you will generally find them together. Deer, you will find
Ma'am?
them together.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
ma'am, I have one question.
Yeah.
Ma'am, where does and how the monkeys sleep?
Where do monkeys sleep? Is that what you
And
want to
how?
ask?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Where do you think they sleep?
Ma'am, on tree?
On trees, yes.
In nests.
So some of them, no, they don't. So it depends on which monkey you're talking about. We are also monkeys. We sleep on a bed.
Ma'am, how?
How meaning?
How do they
How,
sleep
ma'am?
on trees?
How do they sleep?
How do they sleep? Meaning I didn't
No,
understand.
ma'am, how can they sleep on trees, ma'am?
Well, you're adapted to doing it.
I saw a monkey, ma'am. Its tail was wrapped to branch and it was sleeping upside down.
No, that's not sleeping upside down. No, which monkey did you see doing that?
In my village, ma'am, it was something like this right side monkey only, but its face was black.
But see how small its tail is. Oh, you're talking about
Langur.
You're talking about a langur. So langurs are very long tails.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah?
ma'am. I saw it in my village also.
But they don't hang upside down using their tail.
That spider monkeys only do.
Yeah, these monkeys can't use their tail to hang upside down and not to sleep. There is one mammal that sleeps upside down. Which is it?
Bat.
Bat.
Bats,
Bats,
yes.
ma'am.
Okay, we'll come to them later.
Ma'am, I have
Okay,
a doubt.
but basically how do monkeys sleep on trees is, if you have monkeys around, anybody has monkeys around their house?
Yes, ma'am.
Here, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
In my
So now you tell us how they sleep.
Ma'am, one thing which I think is that they wrap their tails around the branch and then they rest their body on the strong branch and then sleep.
So, but how will this monkey sleep like that? You tell me. It has such a short tail. Where can it wrap it?
Ma'am, as much as I know, they usually sleep on branches that are a little bit tilted. They sit in the middle and they relax their heads on the back. And they sit there and sleep like that. Because
Okay,
I've
so
seen
if you,
monkeys in that position
it's
for a
a
lot of time.
very good. If you
Right.
have these observations, you note it down. Can you see their feet? Can you see the monkey's feet?
They're big.
Yes.
Yeah,
ma'am.
they are like hands,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
They can grab like hands. So they can grab the branches also in a similar way. If you go and sit like this, you won't be able to grab a branch with your feet,
No, no.
right?
not-
So you look at the feet of the monkey.
Yes,
So it's
ma'am.
all
Yes, ma'am.
adapted. It's adapted to grabbing a branch and sitting. There are some monkeys who may be sleeping like what this panda is doing behind Ritwik's. You know, there's a panda sleeping on a branch behind Ritwik. Can you see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
They may
ma'am.
be sleeping. You can see monkeys sleeping like this also.
Ma'am, but orangutans and usually gorillas sleep nearly to the ground.
Yeah, because they are very big and they probably don't. I don't think orangutans sleep on the ground. Orangutans are quite arboreal. Whereas gorillas are very big. Chimpanzees and gorillas, and even then gorillas are ground. That's a very good observation. Chimpanzees use trees also.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Ma'am, I have a
Ma'am,
doubt.
sorry. Yeah,
Ma'am, orangutans build a nest every day, no, ma'am.
they build a nest and they sleep on a nest. Very good. Yes, you've seen that in many channels, right? They show.
Yes,
in,
ma'am.
yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
So they build
BBC
a nest and
channels.
they sleep in the nest.
Ma'am,
Okay.
I have a doubt.
Yeah, go ahead.
The meerkats and all the prey, they come in herds, but that's a positive thing for them and also a negative thing, ma'am, because If the predator loses one prey, it has other things to catch.
You mean in a group, if they're living in a group, that
Yes, ma'am, like
they are more in
meerkat.
danger, you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
So, you know which prey live in groups? Mostly, they are the ones who occur in open habitats.
Deers and zebras.
Yeah, when they occur in open habitats, where it is open, by open we mean like grasslands or scrub, or not in a forest. Okay, where they are very visible. So if you're alone and a predator sees you, you're the only prey.
Do you?
Okay, it can. But if you're in a herd, and you may not be able to look all around, right? You have to eat also. You have to be eating as well as you have to be looking for prey. Now, when you're living in a group, you can eat and others can look around. Somebody else can eat and you may look around. So there are all these tactics that you can use, right?
Yes,
There are many more eyes and you can look in different directions to see whether a predator is around or no.
Ma'am, I guess
Tell me,
that's
do
what
you feel,
meerkats do.
I'll ask you a question. Do you feel safer when you're in a group or when you're alone?
In a group.
In a group.
Yeah.
Even horses have their eyes on the ends of their head to see the predators.
Yes. Yes.
Ma'am, even meerkats do that, right? Some of them are down on the ground eating the food, and some of them are standing above and looking around. If something comes
Yes.
around, they produce sounds that seem like whistles.
Meerkats, right? Meerkats.
Yes,
Where
ma'am.
are they found?
Ma'am, in open
In
grounds.
Africa.
They are not found in India. Okay. And what are they, you think?
Madagascar.
What are meerkats?
Ma'am, thin
Ma'am, they're
animals.
like little bigger
the
than
tail.
chipmunks.
Yeah, but what do you think they are? Are they rodents?
No.
What are they?
But they are not cats.
They are not cats. They are mongoose. They are a
Yes.
type of mongoose. Okay. You see their eyes are in front.
Yes,
They are
ma'am.
not at the side.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So they
Yes,
belong
ma'am.
to carnivores. Carnivora. Okay.
Okay.
So you can see how you can tell. Look at this panda. It's eating grass, but where are its eyes placed?
In the front.
In the front.
Because they're descending from the carnivorous family.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. What are these?
These are bats.
Yeah, very good. I thought some of you may say birds. And why are you showing birds in a mammal slide? They are
No,
bats.
actually their wings are like bats.
Their wings are like bats, meaning? These are bats only.
No, yes, ma'am, but their wings are
Wings
like,
are like
differently
birds.
shaped.
They are differently shaped, exactly, because they have a skin. It's a skin that attaches. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
See, this is how it looks. It has a face like a dog.
Yes, ma'am.
And look at the
Big
big eyes.
Yeah.
Why do they have such big eyes?
They're
They
nocturnal.
look for
They are
Of course, they're
nocturnal.
nocturnal.
Can you see now the
To
connection?
allow more light.
Yeah, you can see the connection. They have big eyes, okay, because they're nocturnal. And look at their claws and their hands, how they cling on to the branch. What is this?
It's a flying
It's a flying
squirrel.
squirrel.
It's a flying
It's a
cat.
flying
Yeah,
squirrel.
it's a
Flying
flying
squirrel.
squirrel. Okay, very good. I didn't know so many of you would know what it is. So they don't really fly. What they do is they glide.
Yes,
They
ma'am.
jump from one branch to the other. It's a squirrel. It's a big squirrel. And then they spread their hands out and there's a skin that connects.
Like a cloak.
Yeah, like a cloak, like Superman.
Ma'am, even colugos
Batman,
have it,
actually.
no, ma'am.
Like
Colugos.
Batman. Sorry,
Even colugos have it, no, ma'am.
what is that?
No, ma'am. It's actually the oldest flying mammal species in the world. It's found in, I think it's somewhere in Africa. I think it's a colugo.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know what that is. Okay, I'll look it up. Thanks.
Colugo.
Culugo, Kulugo. I'll look it up. Thank you. Yeah. This is a flying squirrel. This is how it looks. You see how its eyes are slightly at the side?
Thermal sensors, ma'am.
Sorry?
Ma'am, do they sense thermal activity?
I don't know about that. I don't know how many thermal activity. I guess many animals can sense, but I am not sure. Okay, but see how its eyes are glowing.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, like cats, even cats. So these nocturnal animals, they have another layer in their eye, okay, which reflects of the light.
The front of their retina.
Yeah, so that reflects of the light. Okay, and that somehow allows them to see better in the dark. That's another feature of a nocturnal animal. What are these?
And the first one is a dugong. The second one is a whale. The third is a
bottlenose dolphin.
Bottlenose dolphin. And the fourth one is also, I think, a dugong or a mantis, I think.
So the first one is a manatee. Okay. The
Yes,
second
ma'am.
is a whale. Okay. The third is a.
I mixed up between the first and the fourth.
Yeah. So dugongs have very short. So you look at the tail of the dugong.
Ma'am, is the humpback whale?
Is it a humpback whale? I don't know.
Ma'am, is
it may be a
because humpback whales have a lot of like the studs on their mouth and
then maybe it's a humpback whale. Yeah. And the dugong, you look at the tail of the dugong and the manatee. Can you see the difference?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So the dugong tail is like that of a fish.
Like a dolphin.
Or like a whale. Okay, it's a proper whatever. And the manatee, the tail is like a paddle.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So that's the difference.
Yes. I think manatees are slow swimming.
Maybe, I don't know that.
And
they're called sea cows,
The face of
dugongs
the
and
manatee.
manatees.
Ma'am, the face of the manatee and the dugong are kind of similar.
Very similar. Only thing is the
Yes,
dugong
ma'am.
has a flatter face. The manatee has a slightly longer face, but the tail is very different.
Yes, ma'am.
And dugongs are bigger than manatees.
Ma'am, where do dolphins have hair, ma'am?
Sorry?
Where do dolphins have hair for?
They do have. If you look at their skin very closely, you will see that there is fur on them.
Excuse me,
Ma'am, but ma'am, in the manatee, ma'am, there's some algae growing on it. Green colored algae.
Probably. You know, the sea creatures are very different. So it
Yes.
probably has some stuff growing on it. I don't know. It looks like that.
Yes, ma'am.
And ma'am, why can't bottlenose dolphins see? They have small eyes, but why can't they see?
Because they don't need to see. What do they use to communicate?
Actually, they don't have
small
lenses
whistles.
itself. in
Echolocation.
They don't need to see when they are going down.
Yes, ma'am, they use
They
echolocation.
have a very different way of perceiving their world.
Yes.
Okay, a lot of it with sound.
Whistle type sounds, right?
Yeah. And see all these sea mammals, see how tiny their eyes are.
Yes, ma'am. Because
Yes, ma'am.
the water is muddy also.
No, they don't need to see. They have different ways of perceiving their world.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
know, we need to see because that's how we are. There are many animals that use different types of senses. Okay, some of them use sight, some of them use hearing, some of them use smell, some of them use touch,
Some of them use heat also.
some of them use heat. Yeah. So those are all adaptations. Now, what are these?
Excuse me, ma'am.
The walruses, otters, and seals.
Otters and
walruses.
Okay, somebody wanted to ask a question. Can we take that question first?
Ma'am, I didn't want to ask a question. I wanted to say, ma'am, we were just talking about mammals, right? The sea
Yeah.
mammals. In March, my family and I had rescued a porpoise here at our beach house.
Oh, really? Where is that?
Ma'am, near Alibag, Kihin.
Oh, wow. Very nice. And
Ma'am, we tried to release it. It came back to shore. So we tried to release it again, but it was dead.
oh, so sad. I think, you know, what happens to a lot of these marine mammals is because of the lot of noise that humans have made around them, whether it's through ships or whether it's through other stuff, they get very confused.
Yes.
Yes.
And they sometimes, come to the shore because of that, and then they get caught and they die.
Yeah, ma'am.
Caught as in they cannot go back in.
They just
No, I
they
think
just
he might have beached himself.
Sorry?
On purpose. It seemed like he would have beached himself on purpose.
Yeah, they beach themselves because they get kind of misled because of
Yes,
other sounds around. It's so sad, no? Humans have really modified the world in such a way that we create such a lot of problems for other creatures. So
We are so problematic and
sea.
irritating.
Sorry?
We are so problematic and irritating person.
Yeah, we are. But then there are good people like you guys, right? Who are so interested in conservation and nature. You should continue this. In whichever field you go to, you should continue your love for nature. Yeah. So here you have walruses. This is a sea otter and a river otter. River otters, you have river otters in India. And then there are seals and sea lions.
Well, sea otters have the thickest fur in the world.
They have because they occur in very cold areas also.
And they don't have a blubber also.
They don't have blubber, yeah. But otters can also come out on the land, like walruses and, sea lions. Yes. Whereas whales and dolphins and all cannot come on land. Yes. So that's the difference. So otters and sea lions, okay, otters are definitely carnivores.
Yes, ma'am. They
belong to the order Carnivora.
Ma'am, and the walruses actually are suffering a lot, ma'am, because of the climate change law.
Yeah, because they occur in colder areas.
I even saw an episode of David Attenborough.
Oh, very nice.
Our Planet, and ma'am, it was so sad to see them suffering like that.
Yeah, it's very, very sad. So many animals suffer. There are many small animals which we don't know. Walrus is so big, right? So people know. There are many tiny animals that probably suffer and we have no clue.
Ma'am, yesterday I learned something that orcas, they actually beach themselves to hunt their prey. I saw an episode where it was showing that the orcas were coming so close to the land and then they were catching the penguins and then they were coming back. And it was also showing that as we know that we hunt a lot of marine animals, it was showing that the fishermen were catching fishes and the orcas are so clever that they were going down and they were stealing the fish from the boat, and then the fishermen, when they were pulling out the net, then they had nothing, and the fish which they were actually catching were actually the halibus.
Oh, okay. Okay. Good that you watch these programs also.
Yes, ma'am. And orcas are really social animals.
Yeah, they're social animals. They're whales.
Yes, ma'am.
They're dolphins, ma'am. Orcas are not whales.
Sorry?
Orcas are not actually whales, ma'am. They're true dolphins.
So dolphins also, in an overall group, they are whales. They are just split into, smaller groups. It's like the big cats and the small cats or something like that. So they come under the group of whales.
Orcas are actually also called killer whales.
Killer whales, yeah. So what we learned today is we learned that there are different forms. Okay, mammals come in different forms. They have different diets that you can tell from the teeth. Okay. And they have different behaviors depending on the form and the diet, right? Some are nocturnal, some are diurnal, some live in groups, some don't. Some eat plants, some eat flesh. And we talked a little bit about why this should happen. And all these are linked to certain adaptations that they have, right? So this is what we basically discussed in today's class. Yeah?
Yes.
So that is all I have for you now for today. Yeah.
Thank you.
So did you enjoy it?
Very, very
ma'am. Enjoyed it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
So if you have any doubts, you can ask, madam.
I have a doubt.
Specific more. You are asking throughout, but still, if you have any final doubts.
Ma'am, you can stop sharing your screen.
Yeah.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
They say horses sleep by standing, ma'am. Is it true?
Horses, yeah, horses sleep while standing.
How do they manage to do, ma'am? Because we can't do that.
See, they must be wondering how we manage to sleep on a bed lying down.
Yes, ma'am.
So these are what our adaptations. These are why we are different. You know, we shouldn't see the world only the way we live in. We should see it, you know, there's variety. Different animals are adapted to in different ways. Yeah, so horses sleep when they stand. We can't even imagine how they do it, just as they will never be able to imagine how we sleep on
Yes,
a
ma'am,
bed.
because we can't balance when we sleep like standing, ma'am.
Yeah, don't even try that. You will fall.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Tarun, you have a question.
Ma'am,
No.
submarines, they're inspired. Ma'am, is it me or?
No, Tarun Siddharth. Yeah, continue.
Ma'am, submarines have motion sensors which are inspired by dolphins, ma'am.
Very likely.
Dolphins, I don't know what, I forgot that name, ma'am, but if they want to land a submarine, they send sensors down like dolphins to see if there is any
Sonar
obstacle.
radiation? I don't know. Maybe sonar.
Yes, ma'am, it is
Sonar.
Sonar.
Yeah.
Sonar is sound.
Sound navigation and ranging apparatus, ma'am.
Yeah. So, see, a lot of what we build, okay, the ideas we've got from nature, right?
Yes, ma'am. Even last year, jet planes were built using butterflies' wings. Shape.
Yeah.
Last session.
Helicopters are like dragonflies. You
Yes,
know, they
ma'am.
hover.
Yeah, they have a. Yes, Tarun, continue.
That's it, ma'am.
Okay. Navya, you have a question?
Ma'am, the kangaroos, they keep their small babies in their, they have a special couch in the babies. So do babies sleep in the couch only?
Sorry? Pouch.
Yeah,
The
so
baby sleep, you know what? Kangaroos are marsupials. Okay, they're slightly different from the placental animals like us, okay? Mammals. So what kangaroos, when baby kangaroos are born, they are still like embryos.
Yes, ma'am.
They can't really
They're
come out
underdeveloped.
because they have not yet developed fully. So the mother kangaroo has a pouch, like a pocket, and the baby sleeps over there.
So
Till
ma'am,
it
what
grows
about
up.
the mother kangaroo? How does the mother kangaroo sleep? I mean,
I don't know. I've never really seen a kangaroo sleeping.
I think probably using their hind legs.
Probably must be just standing because they have really big
yeah.
fat feet, you know.
And a very thick tail, basically. It's,
Yeah, to
additional.
balance. So I don't know how they sleep, but they do lie down. There are many pictures of kangaroos lying down and they sit like this, you know, like you look at pictures of kangaroos, Google and check.
yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Ma'am, I have heard that dolphins sleep with one eye open. Is it true?
I don't know, but I do know that some birds do that. Okay, like geese, they close one eye because part of their brain, the one part of the brain which connects, you know, the brain connects the opposite side of
Yes,
your body.
ma'am.
So
Yes,
the left
ma'am.
brain will control your right side. So the brain sleeps, half of the brain sleeps, and then that other eye will close.
Yes, ma'am. That is the
So
thing I've heard about dolphins.
Yeah, so they must be doing that because they constantly need to move, right? If they're in water, they
Yes,
can't
ma'am.
float. They'll just go down.
Yes, ma'am.
So they probably they sleep one eye at a time.
Ma'am,
Okay.
excuse me.
Has a question, yeah.
Ma'am, I have heard that dolphins have an organ called a melon on their head, which they use for echolocation.
I don't know about that, Ritvik. Very likely they do have that. I don't.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't
Actually,
know.
it's actually a huge blob of fat on their forehead, which they use for
Okay.
echolocation.
Oh,
But the fat just weighs them down, no man. Then why don't they use eyesight itself for that?
May I answer?
Yeah.
Eyesight will block a few objects, ma'am, and we cannot see if anything blocks our sight. But due to that echolocation, they can sense in all 360 degrees, ma'am. They can send
Yeah.
the sound waves up, down, left, right, back, forward. Every angle
Very
they
good.
will understand what is there, at how much distance it is there, how far they can get, in how much
Okay.
time they can get.
Okay. There's another reason why they probably don't have eyes is, again, you look back at where they descended from. Their ancestors probably didn't have those. So you can't suddenly build an eye overnight, or you can't suddenly change your shape overnight, or overnight, I mean, as over generations or over whatever, you know, even over thousands or millions of years. So this is something, you know, it's a very complex thing. If I go to explain this to you now, it'll take a long time, but just remember, there's something that is called historical contingency. Okay, that means you're dependent on what your history is. Okay, the form and shape that you have is dependent on what your ancestors were. Okay, that is in evolution. That's what, if any of you go to study this further, you will see that a lot of whatever is there in you, you know, it's like when you have a piece of clay, okay, or when you have, if I give you just a few things, objects, to build something, you will have to build it using only those objects. And there are limitations to that, right?
Yes.
There are limitations to what you can build if I give you a limited set of tools. So depending on that, you will be able to make a certain object. So the same thing with in evolution. So it's like we don't grow feathers because our ancestors didn't have feathers. They moved away from feathers some time ago. Correct? It's like, you know, we can't grow tails now because we've given up our tails. We don't need them.
But we have still coccyx in our skeletal system.
Yeah, but you don't have a tail like a clouded leopard or a snow leopard, right?
Because they're vestigial organs.
They're vestigial. You don't need them now. Okay. Or you've kind of given up. It's kind of given up. You know, they don't have a.
Ma'am, like Lamarck's theory of use and disuse.
No, that's not Lamarck's theory of use and disuse. Okay, that's a different thing. Okay, there are problems. Let's not get into that right now. Yeah.
Thank you all. So you have, I know your questions will never end. That's the whole day we may have to spend time for that. But definitely mammals are a group you are all seeing through a lot of programs through Discovery Channel, Animal Planet and all. You will have too many questions on your head. Definitely you can ponder over it. The idea of this whole program is to make you observe, not only observe from the TV and the internet and all. So observe things around you. Now today, Madam Soumita has given you a lot of ideas about how to look at even a cat or a cow or a dog or a goat, whatever you are seeing. Now you will definitely see a whatever mammal coming in front of you in a new light. Their eyes, their teeth, their fur. See, you are getting a new light into how to look into this nature. The idea of this program, the idea of the these ambassadors of nature, to make you an ambassador means to make you to see your own immediate nature. Not see now every children nowadays sitting in the flats and rooms and everywhere looking at the Discovery, and they have a lot of information. Many of your question also shows that you have many interesting information which actually stored on your head. But now connecting that to your immediate surrounding, connecting that to your surrounding, what you are seeing every day. Now you will get a new light. You can see the whole world in a new light. That is the idea behind it. Now, after studying plants, birds, insects, and now you have come to a group of animals, which you are seeing what we mammals, which is actually in the evolutionary time scale, we consider as one of the advanced, because evolution is a process which is a continuous change from a very simple to a complex. So mammal is considered as one of the complex organisms on the face of the earth. Now we know they are much closer to our own being. So it's very interesting to see that, look at that. And again, as Soumita said, and many of you know, you cannot see as many mammals as an insects, or as many as birds, which you can every day in every surrounding. So, but then now the question of the next session, basically now the next 1 week, you are going to see, observe the mammals. Observe mammals, definitely. You will not get so many wild mammals around you, but you have something today, more fortunately. And Dr. Swamita also has given you more example from the cats and dogs and things, because you can definitely easily see all those things. And then you have now the next session, which now I just wanted to share and show you what is your, and this time, and I remember you're all now, this is December, some of you are heading for your exams. Is it that school exams?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
Yes, sir. I have.
Understand that.
Yes,
that
sir. I have exams.
yeah, I am getting some feedback from some people that exam period time is coming. So you are, there is a limitation. But now what we considering all those things, what we thought is this time, this next 1 week, we are giving a very focused, very small set of, but very significant field assignment. That assignment we will just show you. I'll share you. Aditi, I'll share now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, now I will share the field assignment for the next. It's a very simple, but very, you can do very focused way. You can work on that. Can you see this? Can you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now,
Yes, sir.
now you are all familiar with the format which you are seeing it. The first one, so now today, after listening to Dr. Soumita's class, you have a lot of understanding about what is adaptation, what is their living habitat, where they live, and there are a lot of ways you can observe about their food, feeding, and so many things. So what you are looking in your immediate surrounding, what are the mammals available? It can be a monkey, a bonnet macaque, or a rhesus macaque, or even it can be even a langur, and it can be a squirrel, and which squirrel is that? And you can also, some people will have much more, even it can be a mongoose, it can be even nothing of this kind of wild species are there. Definitely you will have a cat, a dog, a goat, or cow, and all that. All that, whatever the mammal, whether it's a domesticated or a wild, you can see in your surrounding. Make a list of it in this area. And in this 1 week, how many of them you have seen? I'm seeing, even if it is a cow, how many cow you have physically seen? You keep a note. Some is in white, some is in color code, you can make it out. Your eyes. And their habitat, where do they live? Cow, you definitely live in your cow shed or somewhere, but definitely a mongoose, or what is their adaptation? What do they see? And see now how to look at adaptation. Now you are clear about eyes, teeth, and fur, all kind of thing. Whatever you see and whatever you think about that points you put in the adaptations. And if you see any food and feeding observation, that also put in this area. So for as many, now I just put number 10, but need not be number, it can be more, it can be less. Even if it's 3, 2, no problem. You know, by this time, you know the experience. From your experience, you fill this for the next 1 week till Friday, whatever you see in your surrounding, count the number you have seen, the habitat, the adaptation, and the kind of observation. Keep on adding. This is, you can extend as many pages as possible. This is the first assignment. Okay, it's clear?
Yes, sir.
Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. There will be a problem. For example, now we are sitting in Delhi and there are some surrounding area, because even if you see a simple cat or a goat or anything, since you don't worry about, it is not how much you write, what you write and how you write, what is the kind of observation you have. Even a cat, if you do a proper observation, that is more important, that you have seen so far. You have already experienced in the last 3 weeks. Now the next one, only 2 major assignments. The next one, of these whatever mammals you have in this thing, you see, identify which is you have more, or where you can see access to, which is the most common, which you have access. Identify one of that mammal species which is easy for you to observe long time. It can be a squirrel, it can be a monkey, or it can be a domestic dog, cat, cow, you just mongoose and sometimes just once you will see, you will not get more time to see. But it can be a cow or a goat or a horse, whatever you have in your surrounding. Even nothing is at least the street dogs, if you have in your surrounding good number, that is also you can be a. But only thing is, whenever you are observing, keep a safe distance. Okay, safe distance. You observe from a distance and what possible, and try to get a, of course, cat. If you have a cat at home, you can do something closer. But whatever basically safe distance, try to and observe as much as possible. Maybe as many hours as possible. Try to, if you get any wild species, that is priority. If you don't get a wild species like a monkey or a squirrel, go for the domesticated species. Nothing to worry about it, whatever thing. And observe them carefully, hours together as much as possible. Then what is to be observed? What do they eat? How do they eat? Where do they rest? You are asking about the sleeping and all. You have so many questions. How do they sleep? You just carefully observe. Even if they are fighting between themselves, their own other members, you look at that. Even they're sharing and helping each other, look at that. All that. When they take rest? How they are active? All that. Whatever your observation, keep a note in your notebook, and everything regularly, systematically for 5 days. You keep on doing that, and. At least a suggestion is that at least 1 hour you spend for this a day. After 4 or 5 days, look at your diaries, recall all your thoughts, your understanding, and write an essay on with giving as much detail as possible. Just think about just write whatever your observation. See, now what I told Kishore, no, this is the reason is some people have a tendency of writing about their thoughts more, but all the thoughts you can put it based on your observation. Observation on your what you observed is the more critical. What you seen is more, and your interpretation of what you see. Let me wrong, right? That is not an issue. How you see, what you observe. That you write as a detailed essay with giving as much detail as possible. 1-2 page doesn't matter. Whatever you can write, you write it. Then of course, as regular in all other assignment, the last word, what is your take on? What is your take? What you are learned from this whole understanding of the mammal as a week? That is the last assignment. This is very simple this time, but you can go deeper into it, provided one animal seriously looking into it and put as much of your effort and understanding, because mammals are numberless in your surrounding, but you can do a wonderful observation, learning process. Anybody has any doubt in this?
Sir, in the first one, the number of individuals would be total to how much we see in one day or in the whole week?
Whole week. Because if you have whole week. Okay, suppose you have, for example, the first day you saw one cow. Okay, next day or third day you got a chance to go and see another cow shed where 4 more you have seen. Your understanding, knowledge about the variability is much more. Okay.
Sir.
Thank you.
So what if we see the same cow once again?
That is only one. Because you cannot do that in the birds and butterflies, but mammals do. You can keep an eye on whether it's the same or not. Is it not possible?
Yes, sir.
Birds we cannot do. That's why that's a different approach. But mammals you can. But why that number of individual which we put? Somebody can do only one individual, and whatever your observation is based on one individual. Somebody will see a more number of individual, so that may have, because your understanding can also vary. You will get a variability understanding. It's better to see more, then you will appreciate it more. Anybody has any doubt? And is there anything? Anybody? Okay. That Parthiban did not come now, Aditi?
No, sir. Parthiban and Pragadishwaran, I am not seeing. I can't see them.
Both of them did not turn up. Okay.
Parthiban's name is here, but I don't know if he is active.
Okay.
And yeah, Pragadishwaran hasn't even submitted last week's assignment.
So, Miss, your people exams are all started or what?
Sir, from tomorrow my exam will start.
From tomorrow.
Okay. When it is ending?
So on 16th.
For me, it's starting on 15th, sir.
Sir, start from tomorrow and it will end in
Okay.
15.
Okay. That means this is a exam period. That's what I wanted to make it very simpler. And that this is whenever you can do it according to your time. There is no time restrictions and all. But you can at least an hour between from your study. You can spend this for this. Okay.
Yes, Debadrita.
Sir, can you explain the adaptation point?
Adaptation part, that is what Dr. Shomida was explaining the whole presentation. So the whole presentation, see, the adaptation means, for example, one particular animal, whichever be the animal, they will be living in particular place and they will be having different kind of specific food. So what are the adaptation? See, based on, if you want this, the presentation definitely will be sending to you also in the YouTube. You can hear once more the whole talk. Now you will understand better about how the adaptations of the eyes, how the adaptations of the teeth, how what all. So each what you have seen, for whatever be the animal you are writing here, and what is their habitat, and the food is you are writing. For them to live in their habitat, particular habitat, and also to have their own particular food, what all the kind of adaptation you have seen, but among the one which already Dr. Shomida has explained to you, what are the adaptation you have seen, observed in the field, you have to write here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. That is fine. If everything is fine, see you next week. Anyway, Aditi, you can conclude.
Yes, well, thank you so much, Shomita ma'am, for spending some really nice time and nice presentation. It was really interesting even for me. So thank you so much once again. And thank you all of you, and all the best for your exams. Next week, it will be just me and Pramod sir. We'll be talking about some interesting observations related to the neighborhoods. And again, it won't be a very, it'll be a very simple thing so that you can also focus on your exams. And I hope I'll get all the assignments by Friday as usual, at max by Saturday. Some of them, as I think I already mentioned in the WhatsApp group, were not active and
Ma'am?
submit the assignments. Yeah, they were.
Ma'am, for my examination, can I submit it on Saturday?
Yeah, that's what, Friday, Saturday. At least before Sunday you submit so that we can just discuss briefly.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Shumita ma'am is writing, thank you everyone. So thanks ma'am, thanks everyone, thanks Pramod sir. See you all next week. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Bye.
much, ma'am.